Hi everyone, Ricardo and I are back again to continue building a decentralized open source social media platform that we call Taarafo. And the last time in this session, in this series, Ricardo and I were working on finalizing a foundation service for removing a post. And we said, okay, if you're going to remove a post, you're actually going to remove a post, completely from our storage, and you will not have any trace of it whatsoever. And before we get started, just before we started this session, Ricardo told me they had some questions. So, Ricardo, go ahead.
Uh, so yeah, I know you assigned me some, three tests that I need to at least two of them that would automatically pass, and
Yeah,
one would I have to fail and then pass, right?
yeah.
For the one that has to do with the database update concurrency
Mm-hmm.
exception,
Mm-hmm.
I was having a little bit of trouble. I mean, I did follow the guide and
Mm-hmm.
try to understand the steps
Mm-hmm.
that I needed to do to make the failing test. But for some reason, the failing test didn't give me the expected failing test that you would want to see. So
Okay.
I did a little debugging, but
Uh-huh.
and I noticed that the reason why it wasn't working as suspected is because it's actually throwing a database update exception instead of the database update concurrency exception.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Let's take a look. Maybe I can help with that. I don't know. No promises. Maybe I can. Maybe I I can't. Let's see.
uh,
Do you have your branch, the same branch? Do you have it updated and it has the failing test still?
yeah. I can do it again just in case.
Yeah, let's do it.
Just share my screen.
All right.
And then
Here's your
let me
screen.
just let me just do the single fulcrum branch.
Okay.
All right, so we're for the remove ID, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this would be the should throw service exception on delete when exception occurs. And I'll log it, so that's like the one that you told me that's like automatic.
Yeah, this one should
It
go
says,
automatically. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yep, and the same goes for the one for SQL exception.
That's right.
So,
Because we're already handling that in another scenario. That's right. Mm-hmm.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
So for this one, this is called should throw dependency exception on delete if database update concurrency. I should fix this here.
And you should say remove because delete is the SQL Server kind of language. So it should throw and we also want to handle this as a dependency validation exception because the timing in which the submitter submitted that remove, the timing was bad. He submitted it at a time that wasn't proper, and there is nothing we can do on our side. They are just going to need to resubmit again. hmm
Makes
So,
sense.
so, so dependency validation exception.
Should throw dependency. Dependency
hmm
validation exception.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Let me see if it passed through. Yeah, I have 126 characters for this one.
Okay, so take away the word exception, so it should just be should throw dependency validation on remove if database update concurrency
Concurrent.
error occurs on log it and yeah, that should take care of it. Hmm.
Okay. So
So let's start
all
here
I'm
from let's start
yeah.
here from the top. So do you see that part where you said random post ID input post ID, right?
Yeah.
You could just say some post ID because the ID here doesn't matter in any way, shape, or form. We're just having a post ID here because it's a requirement in order for us to be able to proceed with kind of simulating a situation, right, where a dependency, a DB update concurrency exception occurs. So you don't need input post ID. When we say some something, that means it it doesn't play its content in no way, shape, or form plays any role in the outcome of the test. You know what I mean? This is a special language that we're using. Like if you say input random input, yeah, that basically means I need this specific ID to be passed in so I can validate the ID is valid and all that kind of stuff. But in this case here, I'm basically saying this is just simply a requirement, a prerequisite that I really don't care about, and it doesn't change the outcome of that test. It won't change the outcome of that test no matter what that ID is. Okay, so you can remove line 24 and just use some post ID, whatever it's required. So
So
that's the first one.
I guess I would have to change it for this
And
one.
this one. Okay. Okay, now the second thing in here, let's see, you have database update concurrency exception. That's perfect. And then you have here locked post exception, which is database update. That's perfect. So now, so
Mm-hmm.
that was the external exception, and then you
Mm-hmm.
localized it as locked post exception, and now you categorized it as post dependency. Let's flip this instead of dependency. Let's make it dependency validation exception. So the validation here basically says the timing in which you chose to kind of post this. When we say dependency exception, just something for you to think about. You know, when we say dependency exception, that means, hey, user, your submittal has nothing wrong with it. This is completely something wrong with our server, and we need to handle it. This is why we go and say contact support. Like, let support know. Of course, support is supposed to know about this before the end user, starts to ask, but we're basically giving them an action to take, right? But in this
Okay.
case here, nothing really wrong happened with the server. The server really behaved the way we expect it to in terms of going in and saying, "Oh, the server prevented two different processes from writing to the same record, right? Therefore, the
Mm-hmm.
server behaved as expected." So this is a validation error from the server that's saying, "I'm not ready at this time. Come back later." You know what I mean? So this is basically why we send back a message and we say, nope, sorry, I can't help you right now. Please come back later. Try again at a later time.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm guessing that would mean I would have to change this because yeah, this
No,
receives
this is good.
exception.
Yeah.
This is good.
Ah, yeah. So your locked post exception should also inherit from exception with the X.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't change anything at all. You just need to change this one. Yep, exception like this. Yep, that's it. And then I think you need an E. It's already fixing the spelling for you. Nice. Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Now, if you do control minus, it'll take you back to where you were.
So
Control minus. Yep. And then now, if you look at, now here's the deal. So now it's saying locked post exception. That's perfect. And then you're passing that to dependency validation. Let's change the variable name while we're at it in line 27 from post
yeah.
dependency exception to post dependency validation exception. Let's do that. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so now what is the first thing that we try call? We basically, do you see this part where it says when you call select post by ID, throw a database update concurrency exception? Do you remember how I told you we don't care about the ID? So instead of passing some post ID, just type in it is any
Is
GUID. Yeah, we don't care. It could be anything in the world. It's out of the responsibility of this guy to actually validate that was passed in matches. You just need to open close parentheses. Yeah. And try to do the same thing for the validate as well. You know, the part where we say make sure that this has been called once and all that at the very bottom.
so okay. I'll just
This guy here. Okay. Now I have a question for you. Does the call to select post by ID happens first, or is it the logging broker that happens first? Hmm. Which one happens first? Chronologically.
okay. Um,
Hmm.
that I might need to do. I might need to do review the old triple S because I actually did follow the order from when it was
Yeah,
passed.
OTripleS. Yeah, OTripleS is
Yeah.
still a lot of parts of it is still on the standard 1.0. We changed a lot of things. So select all of this and just move it up by one, and you should be fine. Yep. And
Yeah.
now you need a. I normally take an empty line before or after because that's what. But anyway, that works too. No problem. Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay.
So yeah.
Mm.
Select post would be first, and then the log.
And then
Yeah.
yep. And now you just
Yeah.
discovered tons of changes that you can make. See, that's the beautiful thing. When we change something in our standard, it's an opportunity for people that are still trying to get their hands dirty. I have some people at this point in time that have never ever contributed to the open source community ever before. And they come to me and said, "Hey, what should I do?" And I'm like, you know what? The order here is wrong. Go ahead and change it, right? This way they're
Yeah.
keeping our code clean. They're actually contributing to it. I'm not just putting them on some bugs and data fixes and letting them be depressed for 2 months. No, I'm actually giving them something that will actually make our project look better and make our standard look better. So okay, do me a little favor, break after expected post dependency validation exception, line 47. Just take a new line after that one. So see expected, no, before it, yep, before the expected, right before that, yep, take a new line. That'll break it down, and then give a tab to the times once.
Like this.
Yeah, you don't need the tab on the upper one. I already took a tab by itself.
So
Yeah, just drag that one back by one.
this one.
Yeah, that's it. You're good. Okay, so let's go back to the top. So you already said select post by ID async. It is any good, right? And then you went and said delete post task. Let's call this remove post by ID task. It has to match the method name except for the async part. Mhm. So services say remove, brokers say delete. Each service has its own remove post by ID. Remove
Oh,
post by ID. Mhm. Okay, perfect. Remove post by ID task. That's perfect. And then let's go here and say you went in and said, okay, when I run this, it should throw post dependency. Yeah, this now will throw dependency validation. That's right.
yeah.
And then this is good, this is good, and then this is good, and then this was never called. Now, if you scroll down a little bit, see the same thing, chronological order. Your storage broker has been called first, and then your logging broker has been called second, and then your datetime broker was never called. See?
Yeah.
And now take all these empty lines, the extra empty lines between the last line of code you have and the method. Yep, take care of all of these. Yep, take another one. Take another.
Another one.
Yeah, all of them. Yep, that's it. So that's considerably a clean method. Now let's run this and see if that works.
Maybe that's why it didn't work for me because I probably didn't
Mhm.
use the proper exception for this.
We'll see. It's possible because if you, I don't think it is, but anyway, this method is supposed to fail at first. That's why we're driving
Yeah.
it by test. So let's see it fail and let's see if we can make it pass together. Yeah.
Mm.
So what's the error that you're receiving? It's saying, I expected you to return post dependency validation exception, and what I actually received is post dependency exception, right?
Yeah.
Great. Now you have a failing test. Now give me that guy, and I will make it pass.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to town. Perfect. Is that my turn? Is that what you're saying? It's my turn? Okay.
And we're playing ping pong today.
Let's play ping pong. That's how we do it. They say engineers they don't play ping pong. Of course we play ping pong. We love it. Okay, so here's the deal. So let's go here and sync this up real quick. There we go. And let me zoom in just for people watching. Okay, my friend, I'm gonna run all the tests here real quick. Here we go. And I have one failing test, and I'm going to make that test pass. Okay, so that's your test here. Should throw dependency validation exception if database update concurrency error occurs and log it async. Beautiful. Okay, so here's my test method. I'm just gonna break things apart a little bit. It's just a preference. I don't really expect people to do that, but okay, so let me see if I can make this actually pass. I'm gonna go to remove by ID. And then I'm gonna go to try catch.
Hmm.
Okay, so what I have here, I have SQL exception, not found, duplicate key exception. So I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna say catch. So be careful because DB update is a parent for DB update concurrency exception. So if you
Yep.
put DB update concurrency exception under it, what happens? It's not gonna let you, it's gonna be unreachable, right?
Yeah.
So okay, so now I'm gonna go here and say create and log dependency validation exception. And then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go here and say var locked post exception equals new locked post exception with DB update concurrency exception in it. And then I'm going to pass here locked post exception. And, everything should be just good and dandy. Let's see. It should just work, I think. What do you think, Ricardo? Do you think it's going to pass?
I don't
Hmm.
know. Let's find out.
Let's find out. Let's see what happens. Okay, it looks like it's happy. I don't know about you, but it looks like it's happy, right? Okay, so this is a dependency validation exception, right? Okay, so let me pass this one. You know, um, I'm gonna do a couple of things, and that will be our very first PR, my friend. And then we can ask, I'm gonna walk with you through some ideas and some things and just see your experience throughout all of this because believe it or not, just as much as you're learning from this, I'm also learning from you, like how you're looking at it and you're telling me, hey Hassan, how does this make sense? When someone comes to me, like I'm trying to make the standard like a joke. If you don't get it from the first time, maybe it's not that funny, right? So I'm trying to make it really intuitive and easy for people to kind of understand. And hopefully at some point in time they'll be able to add on top of it. That's really the whole goal of building an engineering standard. Okay, my friend. So I did run a quick cleanup. Now let me just see the other tests. It should throw service. So this service exception is the last one we ever handle, right? So we're gonna match that. I'm gonna put it at the very bottom here.
Yeah.
That's the first one. Now let's see what we have here. So
I
tab
believe. I
uh,
believe there's also the namings of the test that I would need to fix as well.
on delete. Okay, on
Yeah.
remove.
Yeah.
And use if rather than when. We used to use when back in the olden days, right? This is amazing because now a lot of people coming in looking at, by the way, just I want to let you understand something. Any code that we write becomes immediately legacy as soon as it hits the master branch. It's now subject to change. You know how people have all kinds of different arguments like what is legacy code? Let me tell you what legacy code is. As soon as the engineer is done with that code, it becomes immediately subject to change. Okay, just so we can
And
clarify. Go ahead.
the funny thing is that the ordering that you were explaining, I kind of was thinking about doing that first, but I was just I was following the example, to
It's
just to make
legacy.
sure it was, yeah, it's legacy. It's
It's legacy code. I'll tell you something else for you just to think about. How do you know you're growing as an engineer, right? There are so many different ways. That's why I built Git files so people can look at it and be like, oh, look, I'm growing in this dimension or that dimension. I was just telling Shri this the other day. We're pairing, and I said to her, if every time you write new code, it's better than the one before, even that one before was yesterday, that means you're growing. That means you are on a continuous journey. I've seen some people write code the exact same way that they've written it in 1995. That's a very red flag. That's a very red alert. That's a red alarm. Why is that? Because that means they have evolved into nothing. No- Excuse me. We'll cut that
fuzzy.
one from the video. Thank you. So, so that means they evolved into nothing. They actually went in no direction, no dimension whatsoever, right? So we're not going to do that. We're going to have every single line of code. If you look at OTripleS, this is why there's a lot of issues now opened on OTripleS because there's so many things have changed, right? And OTripleS at the very beginning, we had like some 20 something engineers from all over the world, right? So of course we're going to miss one or two. We were having around, okay, so you have five CRUD operations. So these five methods on the broker and five methods on the service on the foundation and five methods on the controller and the migration. So that's five and five and five. That's 16 pull requests and one that's 16, 17 pull requests. 16 pull requests, across all. So that's where we were, and now we said, okay, let's hold off a little bit and let's look at every single bit of it. Now let's look at this. Okay, so you have this, some you already have this, right? Some post ID failed post service exception. Be careful with the tabs. Just be careful with that one. Post service exception. Let me tell you why I really care about these little things. Your brain catches patterns. If something is out of that pattern, it will catch a problem right away. Like when the code is jumbled all over the place like this and it doesn't follow. Like for instance, if some people are doing it this way, I'll show you.
Oh
So
yeah.
if some people are doing it this way, it will be very hard for your brain will detach immediately. It will say, ah, phew, they're writing it this way. Now I really actually have to read the code. We're trying to optimize our code reading experience to be so to allow you to read millions of lines of codes, without having to worry about being drained and being tired and all that. Okay, so this select post by ID and then remove post by ID. So this is all good. And then let's go down here and say logging broker mock, log broker expected post service exception. That's what you did here. And then storage date time. Perfect. So this test is good. Now let's go to this one. Should throw not found exception if post is not found.
I believe it was the SQL exception one, but we can check this one as well.
Hmm. This one should be in the validation area, right? Let's
The
see.
not found.
Yeah, right. Because because this is an actual validation that we're doing. The database didn't throw that exception. We did, right? So let me take that test. It's good. I'm just gonna take it and but I see again back to patterns. As soon as I saw more than 3 tests, I started to grow suspicious. I said maybe he wrote an extra test in there that I don't know about. You'll see, you'll grow that pattern and you'll be able to do a lot of nice stuff really, really fast. So, okay, so this is validations add. I'm looking for validations removed by ID. Did we not do validations for delete? Oh, we didn't, did we?
I think it was more for the retrieve by ID when we started with the unit test
Okay, that's
testing.
not a problem. We're gonna write really one tiny test, one that validates that the ID is valid, and then we're gonna move on to. So let me just copy this file real quick. So this is retrieved by ID in here. I'm just gonna pass this in, and then I'm just gonna say remove by ID. Let's do this. I'm almost certain. Okay, remove by ID. Is this the one retrieved by ID right here? Let me take a look.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just called it wrong. We just gave it the wrong name. It's supposed to
Uh,
be, that's all. Okay, so we already have it. Oh man, I had a heart attack. I was like, how did that happen? And then let me put that in here. So this is the test that I just copied. Should throw, so there it is. Should throw not found exception on remove, right? If post is not found and log it async. So this is your input, no post, and then you went and said select post by ID. So this is the same thing. This is just me going and saying some post ID because I really don't care. Actually, I do because you're passing in. Are you passing in the post ID? Yeah, now I do. Okay, so this should be actually input post. Okay, this is this guy, and then I'm gonna go here and say, it's gonna return post anyway. This is just what I want to come out, and this is not found post exception into post validation exception, and then you basically remove post by ID. Beautiful. Remove post by ID task. Once, log, delete. You did the storage, you did the logging. All of this is perfect. Okay. On remove, if post is not found, then log it async. That's it. We just need a copyright notice up here. I think we forgot that one. And then this is your remove by ID. So we have add, remove, retrieval, add, remove, retrieval, add, remove by ID. Okay, perfect. So, and because retrieval doesn't have its own validation. Yeah, I think we have a pretty good, this is why what we just did here, that's a fully formed service that you can actually fully trust. It's handling all the possible cases that you might run into when you're trying to kind of delete a post. Now this is production ready. Now you can take this and put it in production and know for sure that any issue is going to happen is going to be caught. That if the post that's coming in is not found, it's going to blow up and write and throw the right exception, and it's going to do all the right stuff for you without any problems. Okay, my friend. So this part here, I'm just going to go up in here and say just code rub move tests to designated files, something like this. So this should be good. And now we can create a PR. Go ahead, create a pull request, and let's take another look at it. And let's build an API endpoint.
All right.
Let's do it.
Second. Share.
Back to your screen.
Yep.
How fun is that, right? We built a crowd operation. This is great. This whole posting thing, we're gonna take that all the way to the UI though. Like you and I are gonna drive this all the way up to the UI. So you will have like a timeline, and people can have like three dots, and they click on it and click delete, and it will actually get deleted. Now let's talk about the naming convention here. So that name, what are we building? We're building a foundation service, right? So let's start
Mm-hmm.
with this all uppercase foundations. Just type foundations, all uppercase.
Over here.
Yeah, foundations. Okay, colon. And then just remove post by ID. So every word you have in it's like a magazine title, right? So make
Yeah.
everything uppercase. So remove R capital, that's perfect. Now post P capital. The
Oh.
by, I guess it's okay. Yeah, this is good. Now I wonder if there's an already open issue that we need to close, that has remove post by ID. I don't think if you click closes, just type in the description in the comment, type closes. Yeah,
Uh.
yeah, right there.
What?
Just type closes. Mhm.
Closes.
No, no, not here. In the description.
Description.
Yeah, and at the place where it says leave a comment.
Oh.
Hmm.
Closes.
Closes. Yep. And then do hash, space hash. Yeah, do we? Yeah, there it is. Do you see this? No, that's your pull request. Do we have one here that says remove? No, we don't. I can create one, no worries. Just open up that pull request. I think we have merge issues because a lot of things have changed since then. Let's create that pull request and see what we're conflicting with. Okay, if you scroll down a little bit, look at this beautiful view. There's fail, pass, fail, pass, fail, pass. That the commit history tells you the history of the PR, how it came to be. It tells you that these two engineers were actually collaborating with each other. Ideally, it's always like this, like 1, 2, 1, 2. Like I write a failing test, you make it pass, and then you write a failing test, and then I make it pass, and so on and so forth. Now, if you scroll down a little bit, it looks like we have some conflicts. Is it okay if I try to merge these conflicts? I'll do.
Uh.
Mhm.
Yeah. Sure.
I'll do the conflicts this time. You do it next time. What do you think about that? No? So okay,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go here and say I'm gonna do it old school. I'm just gonna go down here and say get pull origin master. So I'm pulling from the master branch. Of course, it's gonna freak out. Here we go. And then let's go and see what the problem is. So all these ones down below here are fine. What is this .NET YAML? Oh, that's just the build. Okay, because a lot of people have already pushed other. Um, Now let's see what is it. This is added in both. So I can go here and say merge, and in here I will say message. Yeah, this one is definitely better. We forgot to, so I'm gonna take this one accept. Okay, so this one is good. And then I post service, remove post by ID. So we need both because there is retrieve post by ID and remove post by ID.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna accept both here. So that's accepted. This is a merge. And then this is post service. It says modified in both. So I'm gonna add in the retrieve first, and then I'm gonna add the remove, just like that. See how easy that is? So that guy is in. Because every method is doing one tiny thing and one tiny thing only, it's very easy to do that stuff, right? So what is this? Validate post by ID. I'm gonna take validate post instead of validate post by ID. And then this is validate storage post. I'll take the one that's static. Yeah, I think that's it. Now we just have to fix one tiny thing. The service The service, I think it was that Mahdi, I think. So I'm just gonna say, hey, validate post ID, and this one here is that validate storage post. That's it. Now the merge is complete. How do we know that? Let's go and build everything first. And let's see if everything is building first. Let's rebuild everything. Let's hope this one goes through. Yep, very easy and simple. And then I'm just gonna go here and build all these unit tests, just like that. Oh, just wait for it. I probably need to clean up, clean solution. Here we go. Output done. And then, okay, perfect. Now let's run this guy here real quick. Done. So that
All
means
right.
basically it's very easy and sweet because we're building very small units of work, right? It's not like freaking 50,000 lines and be like, oh my God. I know people that genuinely get depressed just just working with you know just working with code merge. They'll be like, oh my God, I'm gonna do it tomorrow because it's draining their energy, right? It's not healthy. It's not a good. It's not properly structured process. Okay, what happened to this guy? Oh, okay, that's just okay. Then code rub, use merged methods. Our methods are better. Okay, now let's go back to this PR that you have open, my friend, and let's see here. It should be in good state now, right? I think. Okay, now we just have the build going, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do next. I'm gonna I'm gonna need you to let's just give it a second here. Do you have any questions about any of that so far? Is this very straightforward? So we just built a remove by ID capability. We handled let's just think through it. We basically, validated the IDs in good shape,
Yeah.
right? And then we went and made a call to the database to pull that entity. And based on whether that entity exists or not, we threw a not found exception. Right. And then if the entity is found, we try to delete it. And if the entity is being used or read by another person or program, we threw DB update it through DB update concurrency and we wrapped it up in locked exception. Is that right?
Yep.
And then the
Yep.
last thing here we wanted to do is basically go and say, okay, let's handle all other operations. I can't communicate with the database or the database have thrown an unexpected exception like a DB update exception. And then the last thing excuse me, the last thing here is the service exception, which is, let's say there's a memory leakage, your app service that's running in Azure, is experiencing any unexpected issues. We caught that and we wrapped it up in a failed service exception and we throw it. So basically, this is us handling all the different aspects in our system. Okay, now, the next step for us here is to be able to build an actual endpoint. We need to build an endpoint where I pass in an ID and it deletes the record. That would be the next piece that we want to build, right? So
Yeah.
let's do this. Take a branch out of the branch that you have right now, since we already know the branch is in good shape and all that. Take a branch out of that branch and call it users slash Ricardo, Ricky, whatever you want to call yourself today. And is it Ricardo Cruz or is it Ricardo Santa Cruz?
No, no,
I
it's
don't know
Ricardo
anything.
too.
I don't know anything about what I'm talking about. I'm just joking with you. But anyway, I'll tell you this much. So here's what we can do. We want to build a new branch, and that branch will have a controller method that will allow us, and we're gonna try it together today. We're gonna pass in an ID to that controller method, an ID that we know exists, and we're gonna try to delete it. And then we're gonna hit it again and see it coming back and saying, "Oh, not found. You already deleted that guy. We don't have it anymore." Go ahead, share your screen with Visual Studio.
So just to clarify, it would be in this case it would be controllers dash post dash remove.
Yeah, it will be controllers dash post dash delete because controllers speak
Delete.
speak delete. They say post, put, delete, uh,
Right.
right? Git,
Yeah.
right? They have their own language. See, the beautiful this is what I call code DNA. You know, that basically means anywhere if you look at a piece of code, you can tell where it stands, where it is, that piece of code. All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I already got the branch.
Okay, nice. That's fast. You're fast. Okay, let's go and build that controller method, my friend. You're gonna find a couple already in there. Let's go to the controllers area. Here's post controller. Nice. Okay, let's start with HTTP delete at the very bottom because CRUD, the D at the very bottom of that operation. Let's do an HTTP delete. There you go. And then public, async, value task, action result. Action
Action
result.
results.
And inside the
Uh,
action result, there's a post.
post. And
That's
then it'll
right. And
be
then
the
delete
delete.
post by ID, async. And we're
Yeah.
passing in a GUID, and that's a post ID or ID rather, something like that.
Or just ID then.
Okay, how is it? Here's a question for you before we do that. How is it supposed to know, right, that it's supposed to read that post ID from your URL? How does it know
Well,
that? Mm.
well, I believe it's because of the API controller decorator that's right here. If you didn't use that, you would use from body, if I'm not mistaken, as
Or
a yeah.
or you could just do something really simple, and I'll tell you the trick here. The trick here is just to go and say to just educate to tell that your HTTP delete open close parentheses there between double quotes and then open close squiggly bracket
Oh,
and just type
oh,
in there post ID.
oh. Squiggly
Yep,
brackets.
post
Both.
ID.
Yeah, yeah.
If you scroll up a tiny bit, you'll see it and it should be in the retrieve by ID. I'd be very sad. Oh, we never did the controller for retrieve by ID. Great. That's another task for you, my friend. This is an easy 5 pointer that will literally take 5 minutes. Okay, now let's do this. Let's start with a try catch. Let's do try catch, and then we're gonna start with, here we go. Mhm. Nice. Now let's just say post deleted post equal await. Mhm.
Um, post.
Mhm. So the type, right? And then deleted post. I'm gonna call it
Oh,
deleted post.
post. Delete.
Mhm.
And guessing it would be the post service.
Yeah, this dot post service because it's a private class member. The this is what other people do underscore, which is really something that went wrong back in history that some people decided that, oh, we're gonna use underscore. Okay, and then remove post by ID, right? There you go.
All
Okay.
right.
Now let's return that in an okay. Yeah, okay, delete post by ID. Or deleted post rather. Yep. Since this is a return, give it its own line, although that it's not a two-liner. And to be honest with you, it would be nice if you broke from await. If you took a new line from await, it would be nice because it's kind of no. Like take the await with you down there.
Oh,
That's it. Okay. Now let's start with the exceptions. We have a validation exception. Let's handle that. So let's type in there. This is post validation exception. Now you're talking categories, right?
okay. Yeah.
Mhm. And this post validation exception is post validation exception. And post validation exceptions, we handle them and we return them as 400, right? So let's just return bad request. If you type in return bad request and then pass in the inner exception for this post validation exception.
So it would be post validation
Dot
dot
inner
inner.
exception. Yep. Perfect. Let's take that extra empty line. We don't need it. Okay, so that's one piece, right? The validation exception.
Yeah.
Now, here's a problem that we have, right? When we when we are trying to call the the database, and it comes back as the entity is not found. Do we handle that as validation or dependency validation?
Okay. I mean,
Let's go back to the service. So right click, go to the
yeah,
service real quick.
the remove ID.
Yeah, right click, go to implementation.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Mhm.
The wrong thing. Go to implementation.
Okay, and then inside that validate storage post, do we throw dependency validation or validation? Yeah, the not found post, how do we handle it? Do we take it from the exceptions? Let's go to the exceptions piece. No, you want to go to the exceptions aspect, the try catch.
Yeah,
hmm Let's see, we pick up that not found and we handle it as a validation exception right there, right?
yeah.
That's good. Let's go back to your controller real quick. So this guy will get swallowed in that exception. So we're going to have to handle two things. Sometimes we throw bad request, and sometimes we want to throw not found. Not found. So here's what we're going to do here. Copy that exact same block and put a copy of it on top of it.
Okay.
Okay. Now, underneath, under like at the very end of the top one, post validation exception, close parentheses, take a new line. No, after the closing parentheses.
This one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Take a tap and then type this. When.
Uh,
Oh, now open a parenthesis again and then type this. Post validation exception dot inner exception. Nope. The actual variable.
oh, didn't see that.
Dot inner exception is not found
Yeah.
post. Nope. Inside. You still want to be inside the thing.
Oh, so it's not found.
Post exception.
Oh, okay. So we're trying to be explicit to the type of exception that's inside of the category.
That's right. Why? This is the reason for it, right? If I want to know a very specific behavior, then I'm gonna have to behave with a when and extract that match. Anyway, instead of bad request, just type in not found.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. Okay, now let's go to the next line. So we handled the validation as all categories, and we handled the specific category which is not found post exception. The next piece we're gonna work on is the dependency validation exception, which is the locked. Let's take care of that one.
So, but I would still need to say post dependency, right?
Let's start with dependency validation first.
Okay.
hmm
Post dependency validation.
Yep, yep. And then say when, under that say when again.
So it's the same. Okay, yeah.
But now,
When,
but now we're looking for locked, right?
yeah. Interception is not this guy.
Yeah,
It's this guy. And
right.
close.
So how do we handle locked, right? There's actually a very special, command there. It's actually literally called locked. So just do return and
Oh,
just
really?
do locked. Yeah, it's 424. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, those HTTP code are there for a reason. And then just give it the inner exception again. Done. Let's go to the next one. The next one is the generic one. Anytime we have any post dependency validation exception, we're just going to handle it as a bad request.
Of course. Okay. Just second post validation exception.
Hmm?
Wait, yeah. Post dependency validation exception.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
return Bad
Understood.
request.
Yep.
Exception.
Right. Now, let's go to the next one. The next one here is to basically handle the dependency exceptions, right? This one is very straightforward. Literally, if you scroll up a little bit to the other methods,
It already
scroll.
has it.
Yeah, take these two. Take these exact two, dependency and service, and you're done.
Internal servers errors. Got it.
That's
All
it.
right.
Now let's test it. Run your application, run your API.
Okay. It doesn't
Run.
matter. It
Doesn't matter.
doesn't
Just
matter,
run.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plug and play. Let's run. You know. All right. You should be able to have a nice swagger coming up right now as soon as you start doing that. Let's share that swagger on the on StreamYard, please, Ricardo.
Yeah. 1 second. All right.
Here we go.
That's still loading.
All right. That's okay. It's probably it's either initializing your database or the connection. Ooh, so this one here meaning we have a late version of RESTful sense. So let's go back to your IDE real quick. I'll tell you how we fix this problem. Thanks to Brian Parker, you know, all the way he's coming all the way from Australia to fix this problem for us. So share your Visual Studio. I'll tell you what happens. Okay, so here you are, and then just basically all you gotta do is that go to the project that you're in, right click on NuGet packages and just update RESTful sense.
Okay. So over here.
Mhm. Yep, update that guy.
Just RESTful sends.
Just update everything you find. Don't
Yeah.
leave anything behind. Yep.
All right.
Uh-huh.
You could tell how I question everything because
Yep, yep, yep,
in
yep.
an industry, you're usually locked into specific versions that you need to
Yeah,
update.
that's nonsense. No, we wanna change that. We wanna change that. Okay, let's go back to this guy and let's see here. Run again, and it should your swagger should work fine. I think you're gonna have to share your swagger
Yeah.
document.
1 second.
Why am I blurry? Mm, mm,
You don't
mm.
see blur.
Okay,
I think yeah.
okay, here we are. All right, let's do it. So this is how we're gonna test this, right? We're gonna go here and say, let's retrieve all. Just do a retrieve all first. So this is API get posts. Do you see it?
Yeah.
And then you just do try all and just let's retrieve everything. So we want to get one that actually does exist in the database, right? Let's see
Yeah.
if it'll give us anything. So you know what it's doing right now? It's actually provisioning the database for you. So now you have a database locally. So it doesn't seem that we have one. Let's create one. Let's go to this posts at the top.
So, yeah.
Let's
Let's
create one.
post.
Copy that guy. Copy that
This
guy.
one.
It's already giving you one for free. Yeah, copy that guy. Uh-huh.
Nice.
But this one is not gonna work because our dates has to be super recent, right? Is it? Oh, I think this date is recent. Okay, perfect. Let's do that. Post that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do try it out and post it. Yep. I don't think. What did you get? It created it. Look. Created, right? Response body. Do you see
Yeah.
it right here?
201.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Now let's do retrieval just to make sure that it's actually persisted in the database. Scroll down. There it
There we
is.
go.
Now pick
Yep.
up that ID and go to the delete.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yeah. Got it.
This is a delete endpoint. Just throw that guy in there. See, it's created a text box for you. Try it out. Execute. There you go. Now take a screenshot. Take a screenshot of this because you're gonna need it in your PR.
It's the whole thing. Okay.
Yeah, just take a screenshot for the post with the delete and everything.
1 second.
Hmm. Do you have it?
Yeah,
Okay, let's go back to GitHub. First of all, let's commit that code. You're done. You already made it. Perfect.
that was great.
Yeah. How about that, right? End to end, my friend, right?
Give me 1 second.
Uh-huh.
All right, let me just share again.
Okay.
So,
All
I would
right.
just, I guess I would just need to leave it here in the comment, right?
Leave what? No, you need to
No?
create a new pull request. You need
Oh,
a
right.
new pull request, right? Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, I would need to commit first, right?
Yes, you need to add, commit, and then type in controllers, colon, and then delete by ID. Delete post by ID.
Push.
Okay.
Push. All right. Let's go back.
It should show up in here if you pushed it. Hmm. You created a new branch, right?
Yeah.
And you're sure it's pushed? Go to branches, you should see it in there. You click on branches.
Let me let me share my screen again.
Okay.
Visual Studio. So,
Go.
you see here, right?
Yeah, and you push that all the way up. Yeah, that's it. Now just go back to GitHub and we'll be able to kind of see it.
Mm, Let me just
Okay.
refresh the
If
page.
yeah, there
There
it
we
is.
go.
All right. Now create pull request, controllers, delete post by ID. Now put the screenshot here in the description area.
Just look for it.
Click on preview. There it is. And then just click create pull request. Now I'm gonna take that from you for a second just to review this stuff real quick. So here is share screen. I'm gonna go back to here. Can you see my screen? I think you can. And then let's go here and say controllers, delete post by ID. Let's take a look at the changes. You added the system here. Everything is good and dandy. Now this is industrialized, production ready delete endpoint that you can rely on to actually take care of, high frequency kind of um, throughput for your work. So that basically, so in here, I'm just, I know that you haven't really added any unit tests, so we'll just wait for this one to kind of build out. So what's going to be the next step for us just before we wrap up this session, Ricardo? And this is basically your endpoint right here. The next step for us is to basically, while I'm just looking at this, is to basically go and say, I want to be able to integrate. Now we want to take that endpoint that you built, that nice sweet endpoint that you built, and we want to take that all the way up to the UI. When people say I am a full stack engineer, right? They talk about being able to build things end to end, but sometimes, like when you actually, when rubber actually hits the road, you start seeing this guy doesn't know how to build an endpoint, or maybe this guy doesn't know how to build the UI, right? So this is where we're going to work all the way up, all the way to the UI, where you saw that post endpoint. It goes in, we call the retrieval. It puts all the posts in there, and then there's a little kind of three dotted kind of option that you can click on and click delete. That's that endpoint. That's that feature that you just built. Does that make sense to you? So
Yeah.
so that pretty much wraps it up. You and I are gonna start jumping in on the front end, and just so you understand, there is also an intentional diversification of the work that we have here. What that basically means is that you're not always working on the back end, you're not always working on the front end, you're always switching between one, activity to the other, and down to the next, and down to the next, and so on and so forth. All right, my friend. Do you have anything else to say for our subscribers before we wrap it up?
Just remember to hit that like button and also subscribe.
Perfect. Awesome. I really I'm really really grateful for the amount of people like you see the comments on the videos all the time. There's also
Mm,
more on LinkedIn and there's also more in my Facebook private messaging. People reach out, they just want to learn. They just want to learn how to build things end to end and this is my way. There's 50,000 other ways to build it. Oh, before I forget, Ricardo, I'm even starting to actually build, like I said to people, the standard is many, many options. There's the standard business, the standard team, the standard code, the standard architecture, low level, and the standard high level architecture. The stuff that you and I just did right now, this is the standard team practices, basically meaning I write a failing test, you make it pass, you write a failing test, I make it pass, and so on and so forth. This is a culture. This is a our ability to organize ourselves so we can actually get the best out of every moment of every day, but also at the same time you saw how much we are learning from each other just with these little shortcuts. Oh, I need to fix this. You do this a couple of hundred times and you'd be your own kind of, guy. You go out there and teach people how to build software and people are going to learn, get around you and gather around you and learn from you and all that. All right, my friend, thank you so much for joining in today. I look forward to continuing this journey with you tomorrow. And, again, guys, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, please free to drop a comment in the comment section. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in another video. Thank you for watching.
take care.